The final stretch of the transfer window is never dull. It never fails to stir emotions. And right now over at Ibrox, there's that familiar buzz in the air, a sort of tense excitement. Because if there's one thing Rangers fans know well, it's that this club doesn't just quietly glide through the window. Things happen. Big things. And right now, behind the scenes, there's a feeling we're on the verge of something major. Moves are being plotted. Departures are being considered. And with interest mounting across Europe, it's safe to say Rangers are bracing themselves for a dramatic end to the window. And while the speculation swirls and the rumors churn, Russell Martin and his staff are deep in preparation, weighing options, speaking to players, making sure they've got contingency plans in place for every possible twist and turn. Because this isn't just about bringing in a body or two. It's about shaping the core of a squad that still has everything to play for this season. And let's be honest, it's not just fans who are watching closely. Every club sniffing around. Rangers' top talents is keeping tabs too. We start with the latest confirmed addition to the squad, as Jaden Mcome, the young fullback from Brentford, has officially sealed his loan move to Ibrox for the remainder of the campaign. And it's not just a signing for depth, it's a signing with purpose. With Ridvan Yilmaz expected to move on and Jeff Day already on the brink of a switch to Parma for a fee in the region of $6 million, Rangers needed a left back who could step in right away. Young Robbie Fraser has also gone out on loan to Dunfermline, which left that position particularly thin, so Mcome's arrival was timely to say the least. Now, what makes this deal even more interesting is the connection between the player and the manager. Russell Martin knows Jaden well from their days at Southampton. That prior relationship clearly played a huge role in making this move happen. Mcome himself admitted it. He spoke to Rangers TV shortly after the announcement. I made it clear that Martin's presence was a massive pull. According to him, the playing style, the training sessions, and the trust built during his time at Southampton were fresh in the mind. And that's given him confidence that he'll settle quickly in Glasgow. He spoke with a maturity beyond his years, especially for a 19-year-old. You can see he's not just here for game time. He genuinely believes in what Russell Martin is building, and he wants to be a part of that. He said the way Martin sets up his teams suits his game to a T. Possession-based, progressive, and attacking from the back. He made his debut under Martin at Southampton in a Carabao Cup tie against Gillingham and said he felt at home straight away. That kind of familiarity and comfort could prove massive in helping him hit the ground running. But what stood out more than anything in that interview was just how much he respected the badge. He described Rangers as a fantastic club, a club with a history that speaks for itself. And for a young lad from down south, that kind of reverence is not just refreshing, it's necessary. Because when you play at Ibrox, it's not enough to be talented. You've got to get it. You've got to understand what it means to wear that shirt. And it seems like Mcome does. He also made a point of saying that the move felt like an opportunity not just for himself, but for his family as well. That tells you everything about his mindset. He's coming here hungry, not just to fill in at left back, but to prove that he belongs at this level. And in a season where squad depth could be the difference between silverware and disappointment, that kind of commitment can go a long way. Now, from new arrivals to potential exits, Rangers fans may want to brace themselves because the last days of this transfer window could bring more than one emotional goodbye. The club is fully aware that sizable offers are expected. And while they'll do what they can to hold on to their key players, the reality is money talks. Nicholas Raskin and Hamza Igamani are both generating serious interest, and not just from small clubs. We're talking top European sides sniffing around, ready to pounce if the price is right. Russell Martin knows it, the board knows it, and deep down the fans probably know it too. These final weeks could define the shape of the squad going forward. Igamani in particular is attracting attention from all over the continent. The Moroccan attacker is firmly on the radar of clubs like Everton, Feyenoord, Rennes, Udinese, and Lille. Now, none of those sides have large formal bids just yet, but things can change in a heartbeat when the window's about to slam shut. And Rangers are fully aware of that. Behind the scenes, they're preparing for every eventuality. They know that a serious offer could land at any moment. And if it does, they won't just sit on the cash. they'll reinvest immediately. Raskin's situation is just as tense. The Belgian midfielder is admired by several Premier League outfits. There's no denying his quality. But with that quality comes interest. And with interest comes uncertainty. Rangers want to keep him. That much is clear. But you have to wonder if the noise from down south is starting to unsettle him. Russell Martin admitted that approaches have been made, but he also insisted that Raskin remains central to his plans. Still, if the right offer lands, and if the player's head turns, then Rangers will move quickly to bring in a replacement. The balance of the midfield is crucial to this team's structure, and Martin knows he can't afford to leave. Any gaps? This is a manager who doesn't wait around. If someone goes out, someone will be coming in. That much is certain. There's a broader point here, though. Any big departure at this stage of the window will be both a setback and a massive opportunity. A setback because you're losing talent. An opportunity because you're suddenly armed with funds to reshape the squad. Maybe even strengthen areas that have been papered over for too long. And based on the way Martin's been approaching this rebuild, you trust him to use those funds wisely. And it doesn't stop there. Ridvan Yilmaz is another name being whispered in corridors and boardrooms across Europe. Besiktas have made no secret of their desire to bring the Turkish left back home. Talks have already taken place, and it's no surprise. A return to the Super League has been on the cards for a while now. Galatasaray are also watching closely. They've been following his situation since January and are expected to make a push if Besiktas can't get it done. And from what we're hearing, Yilmaz himself is open to the idea. It's clear that the next few weeks are going to be pivotal. Rangers might be a different team on the other side of this window. The challenge for Martin is keeping his squad competitive while navigating all this movement. The pressure is very much on. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about someone who seems to thrive under it. Mikey Moore, just 18 years and 1 week old, and already he's showing he's built for the big moments. Rangers fans got their first real look at him in the recent 4-2 win over Aloha Athletic. And while it wasn't a perfect performance, you could see the spark. You could see the potential, his directness, the way he runs at defenders, the instinct to take players on. That's something Rangers have needed. He's raw, of course, and still adapting to senior football. But you can't teach that fearless attitude, and Moore's got it in spades. He spoke after the match, and you could feel the ambition radiating off him. He's not here to make up the numbers. He said, quite simply, I want to be one of the best players in the world. That's not the kind of statement you expect from a kid fresh out the academy. But again, that's exactly the kind of mindset this Rangers team has lacked in recent years. Players who believe, truly believe, they belong on the biggest stage. And here's the thing, he's not just talking the talk. When you watch him, even in flashes, you can tell there's something special brewing. He's still finding his feet in Scottish football, and the delay to his debut due to registration issues probably helped more than it hurt. Gave him time to settle, time to understand the city, the club, and the expectations, but now that he's in, he's fully focused. Moore made it clear that despite recently signing a new deal at Spurs, his entire focus is on making a mark. At Rangers, he wants minutes, he wants goals, he wants to excite fans, and crucially, he wants to win. His eyes are set on the big games, the derbies, the European nights, the kind of stage where legends are made. And when you look at why he chose Rangers, it wasn't just about football, it was about atmosphere. He mentioned that infamous European night at Ibrox when Spurs came up for a Europa League tie. He couldn't travel due to injury, but watched on the telly and was gutted to miss it. His mates came back raving about the crowd, saying it was one of the best atmospheres they'd ever played in. That stuck with him, and when the opportunity came, he didn't hesitate. He also had a word with Jermaine Defoe, a man who knows both Tottenham and Rangers inside out. Defoe told him in no uncertain terms to take the chance. That the club, the fans, the city, it's all special. Moore listened, and now he's here, ready to make his own history. And when a young lad like Mikey Moore comes in with that kind of belief, it changes the mood around the dressing room. That kind of confidence is infectious. It lifts the standards, makes the others around him take notice. He's not walking in like he's the finished article, but he's walking in with intent. And for a club like Rangers, where the pressure is constant and the expectations are sky high, that mental toughness is just as important as anything he can do with the ball at his feet. You see, for too long now, Ibrox has seen players come and go who couldn't handle the spotlight. Players who had the talent but froze when it mattered most. And with the weight of expectation this season heavier than it's been in years, you need lads who won't wilt under the pressure. You need players who look at the roar of a packed Ibrox not as a threat, but as fuel. Moore, for all his youth, seems cut from that cloth. Of course, it's still early days. One good performance doesn't guarantee anything. But the attitude's there, the potential's there. And in a squad that's likely to be reshaped over the coming weeks, he could have a big role to play, especially if some of the senior names do end up heading for the exit. And make no mistake, there will be movement. That's not just speculation. That's the reality of football at this level. With interest rising in so many first-team regulars, and with clubs across Europe sniffing around, Rangers are having to plan for every possibility. Russell Martin has spoken about wanting to keep the core of his team intact, and that's the right message. But he's not naive. He knows how quickly things can change once the phone starts ringing. Take Hamza Igamane, for example. The Moroccan forward's rise hasn't gone unnoticed. There's been a quiet buzz about him for months, and now that buzz is turning into real interest. Clubs like Rennes and Udinese don't waste their time chasing players who can't perform. These are clubs with strong scouting networks, clubs that act when they see value. And then you got Everton, a Premier League side with the cash to make things happen quickly. It wouldn't take much for this to turn into a bidding war, and Rangers will have to decide how far they're willing to push to keep him. The same applies to Nicholas Raskin. His name's been mentioned in more than a few Premier League circles, and there's a reason for that. He's got the engine, the vision, the bite in midfield that so many English clubs are crying out for. And while Rangers fans will be desperate to keep hold of him, and rightly so, there's always a limit. If a £20 million bid comes in or something in that range, you gotta ask the question, can you say no? Or is it smarter to cash in and reinvest? Russell Martin, to his credit, seems prepared for either scenario. He's not banking on everyone staying, and he's not panicking at the thought of losing someone. He's got his eyes on potential replacements, and from what we've heard, the recruitment team has been working quietly behind the scenes all month, lining up targets in case the dominoes start to fall. Because that's how you stay competitive. You don't just wait to see who leaves, you anticipate it, you prepare for it, and then you strike, bringing in quality that keeps the level high and the momentum going. That's what the top clubs do. And Rangers, under this new regime, are trying to behave like a top club again. There's also an understanding now that some sales are necessary. That's not to say the club's in trouble. Far from it. But rather that the modern game is about sustainability. You develop talent, you showcase it, and when the time is right, you sell for profit. And you take that money and you strengthen. Not just replace, strengthen. If Rangers can get that balance right, if they can sell smart and buy smarter, they'll be in a much stronger position long term. And let's not forget the squad still has gaps. Even without major departures, there's room for improvement. Depth in midfield, more options at center back, maybe another wide player. These are areas the manager has been looking at, regardless of what happens with Raskin or Igamane. So if funds do come in, don't be surprised to see a flurry of late business. Meanwhile, Rıdvan Yılmaz is another storyline to keep an eye on. The Turkish fullback has had an up and down spell at Ibrox, and now it looks like a return to his homeland might finally be on the cards. Besiktas have stepped up their interest, and with Galatasaray also in the picture, it's clear there's genuine demand. Yilmaz himself has never hidden the fact that a move back to Turkey would appeal to him. He gave it his best in Glasgow, and while flashes of quality were there, injuries and inconsistency meant he never quite nailed down the position. And with Rangers bringing in Jaden Mcome, the writing may be on the wall. That said, any deal will have to make sense financially. Rangers won't let him go for pennies. They invested into him, and they'll want to see a decent return. But it feels like one of those moves that suits all parties. A fresh start for the player, and a bit of flexibility for the club in terms of wages and squad balance. What's interesting, though, is how all these moving pieces could suddenly align. If Yilmaz goes and Mcome steps in, if Raskin goes and a dynamic box-to-box midfielder arrives, if Igamane is sold and two attackers come in to replace his goals and movement, suddenly the squad looks different. Maybe not worse, just different. More Martin's image, more in tune with the football he wants to play. That's what this window is really about. It's not just about holding on to names. It's about evolution. It's about building a group that fits the vision, the style, and the energy, because you can't chase success by standing still, and you definitely can't win titles just by keeping the status quo. Now, as all this unfolds, you've also got the intangible side of things, the belief, the mentality, the chemistry within the group. That's where someone like Mikey Moore becomes even more valuable. He brings hunger, he brings fresh energy, and from the sound of it, he's got the right people in his ear. Jermaine Defoe, a man who left a lasting mark at Ibrox, spoke highly of the club to Moore, told him it was a special place, told him to go for it. And when someone with Defoe's pedigree gives you that kind of endorsement, you listen. Moore clearly did. He spoke about watching Defoe banging in goals for Rangers and wanting to follow in those footsteps. And now he's here, not to admire the past, but to make his own mark. He said it himself. He's buzzing to get going, buzzing to play in big games, buzzing to score goals. And that's what fans want to hear. Not cliches, not safe answers, just honesty, ambition, fire, the kind of attitude that separates a good player from a great one. And while he may not have grown up with posters of Rangers on his wall, there's a sense already that he gets it, that he understands the responsibility. Because once you're inside that dressing room, once you've walked out the tunnel at Ibrox, once you've heard the anthem echoing off the stands, you either rise to the occasion or you fade away. Moore looks like he's ready to rise. And if more players with his mentality start filtering into this squad, then maybe, just maybe, we're about to see a shift. A new generation of Rangers hungry to write their own history, not live in the shadow of the past. But make no mistake, the next 2 weeks are going to test everything. The club's resolve, the manager's plans, the players' focus, and the supporters' patience. Because with every rumor, every bid, every signing or sale, the stakes rise. One wrong move could derail the season. One right move could ignite something special. And that's why, as the window draws to a close, all eyes are on Ibrox. Not just in Glasgow, not just in Scotland, but across Europe. Because Rangers are a club that matters, a club that people watch. And whatever happens next, it's going to be big. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The streets around Ibrox have been buzzing with whispers that seem too extraordinary to believe, yet the sheer volume of the chatter has given the impression that something seismic may be unfolding. According to those who claim to be close to the inner circles of the club, Rangers FC are on the verge of announcing what could only be described as the most astonishing defensive reinforcement in modern Scottish football history. The signing of Virgil van Dijk. Supporters, journalists, and even rival fans have been caught in a frenzy of speculation as snippets of supposed negotiations and late-night discussions leak from every corner of Glasgow. It is said that club representatives have been locked in meetings that stretch long into the evening, determined to push through a deal that many would have dismissed as sheer fantasy just weeks ago. For a club determined to reassert its authority. At home and abroad, such a move would not merely be symbolic. It would be transformative, carrying the weight of both ambition and audacity in a landscape often resigned to more modest transfers. The idea of Van Dijk in blue is no longer dismissed with laughter, but rather greeted with cautious anticipation. The very suggestion of Virgil van Dijk stepping into the Rangers dressing room has lit up conversations in pubs, cafes, and taxis across the city. Loyalists who have followed the club through its most turbulent eras are daring to imagine the sight of one of Europe's most commanding defenders marshalling the backline at Ibrox. The rumor suggests that Van Dijk himself has been impressed by the vision outlined by Rangers leadership, a vision that places the club at the center of a resurgent Scottish game and a European stage that feels closer than it has in decades. Some claim that the Dutchman, weary of cycles at his current club, is eager for a new challenge where his presence would be both revered and pivotal. Others remain skeptical, questioning how Rangers could possibly finance such an operation without disrupting the financial balance carefully constructed in recent years. Yet skepticism has not stopped excitement, and what began as a whisper has grown into a roar that dominates the terraces. with supporters crafting banners and songs even before confirmation exists. The very notion has breathed energy into the club's surroundings, uniting fans in hope. What makes this rumor all the more intoxicating is not simply the name itself, but what it represents for Scottish football as a whole. A player of Van Dijk's caliber moving to Rangers would signal a power shift in how the domestic league is perceived, not only by its own supporters, but also across Europe. For years, the Scottish Premiership has been pigeonholed as a competition where talents are either nurtured before moving south or veterans arrive in the twilight of their careers. But Van Dijk, still regarded among the finest defenders in the world, would demolish that narrative in one stroke. The whispers suggest that such a move has been facilitated by personal connections, perhaps an admiration for the atmosphere of Glasgow, or a desire to reignite an old rivalry with Celtic from an entirely new perspective, regardless of the truth. Behind these stories, one cannot ignore the effect it has already had. A jolt of belief, a surge of anticipation, and a reminder that football thrives as much on dreams and daring speculation as it does on the certainties of contracts and official statements. For many, the possibility alone feels like a victory of sorts. Behind the scenes, it is said that this prospective deal has required maneuvers of extraordinary complexity, involving sponsors, financial backers, and a vision that extends far beyond a single season. Rumor holds that Rangers hierarchy have pitched not just the allure of domestic dominance, but also a serious campaign to re-establish the club as a fixture in the Champions League. In such a campaign, Van Dijk would serve as both a shield and a statement, signaling to opponents that Rangers are not content to simply participate, but to compete with authority. Negotiations, according to insiders, hinge upon structuring a contract that recognizes both the financial constraints of Scottish football and the personal aspirations of a player who remains at the peak of his powers. And it has been suggested that creative sponsorship packages and long-term incentives have been woven into the proposal, offering Van Dijk not only a footballing challenge, but a legacy project in the heart of Glasgow. The sheer ambition of the undertaking has already changed perceptions of the club's intent, making rivals and observers alike acknowledge that Rangers, at least in spirit, are thinking far beyond their borders. As the city waits with bated breath, the rumor continues to swell, drawing in skeptics, believers, and dreamers in equal measure. Whether true or not, the very discussion has reignited passion within a support base always hungry for moments of grandeur and glory, imagining Virgil van Dijk commanding the backline, orchestrating plays with his characteristic authority, and bringing a calm assurance to the Rangers' defense has become a shared vision, binding fans across generations in hopeful conversation. Should it materialize, the move would redefine not only Rangers, but also the stature of Scottish football, shaking the foundations of how the league is viewed from afar. And even if the whispers fade without confirmation, the episode will remain a testament to the magnetic power of football rumors, the capacity of a single name to set alight a city's imagination, to stir dreams of dominance, and to remind everyone that in football, the improbable is never truly impossible. Until the curtain lifts and truth reveals itself, the blue half of Glasgow will continue to hold its breath, convinced that something extraordinary lies just beyond the horizon. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.